I still feel like I need to catch my breath. What an absolute crazy trade deadline from Brian Cashman. That is the main subject of today's episode of the Bronx Buzz podcast, episode 5. As always, for those of you that have shown support on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, I appreciate all of you guys. If you want to be featured, leave a comment or message me on one of those aforementioned platforms at the username down in the lower left of the screen, and I would be happy to have you guys on here. But seriously, what a wild trade deadline. I'm going to start off breaking down every single trade we made, all the way back from when we got McMahon into our latest trade with Camilo Doval mere minutes before the deadline at 6 p.m. So we're going to talk about it all today, and then also we're going to review the series against the Rays, 3 out of 4 there. Then we're going to look ahead to the road trip and just general Yankee stories as well. So action-packed episode as always, a lot of fun stuff to cover. Let's get right into it. Alright, so like I said, before we get into too much of my overall takeaways of the deadline, before I grade Cashman's performance at this deadline, I just want to recap every single move that we made. Obviously, like I said, starting back with Ryan McMahon, who we acquired in exchange for Griffin Herring and Josh Groves, 2 pitching prospects who were both in high A Hudson Valley. Griffin Herring, especially a lefty, was doing very, very well there, so it sucks to have to give him up. But to get, you got to giveth. You know, that's the way it works in baseball. And McMahon has been absolutely fantastic on both sides of the ball so far. Hitting .400 as a Yankee with an OBP of .520. OPS over 1 as well. He's already picked up a walk-off on Wednesday against the Rays, pelting that single to center field. And he's made some spectacular plays over at the hot corner, showing off the arm and then just doing everything well in the diamond. And he looks like he's fit right in the Yankees clubhouse. He's hyped up. He's happy to be on a team that's competing. And big thing, we've got him under team control until 2027. Great savvy move by Cashman. I've absolutely loved what he's been able to do so far. Obviously, Eugenio Suarez was the main target at third base. You know, that was the golden goose of this year's trade deadline crop, but Ryan McMahon has proved to be an excellent addition. I'm really excited to see him in the Bronx for 3 more years. I mean, he's been absolutely incredible so far. And then after McMahon, we went and we picked up Ahmed Rosario, who's 1 for 1 as a Yankee, hitting 1,000. He's going to be a platoon bat against left-handed pitching. He's hitting over 300 on the season against lefties, good OPS as well, got some power, can play all around the diamond. He can't play everywhere particularly well, but he can play everywhere. You know, he'll be able to make routine plays over there at third and in all 3 outfield spots. He's had some time at short as well, even though shortstop is not where I would put him. But having a guy like that that's able to come off the bench and give you that depth is so crucial down the stretch and into October if you want to make a run at it. You know, like I said, pinch hit single on Monday. That's all we need him for. You know, come in, be a bench bat. You know, get the occasional start against a lefty starter, and just get hits, man. Pass the baton, know your role. The guys like that are, like, their importance cannot be understated when it comes to building a World Series caliber team. You need guys who understand their role and understand, hey, I'm not going to be the guy on this team, but I can still help this guy win. Kind of that help this team win. Kind of that Oswald Cabrera type of mentality where he's willing to do anything to help the team win. He doesn't have to be a superhero, and that's what Rosario says. And something I've noticed with him, he's the first one out of the dugout every homer. He was hyped up to the highest degree after the McMahon walk-off. He seems like he's fitting in really well, just like McMahon with the Yankees, and he is, of course, a free agent after this year, so no guarantee he'll stick in New York long-term, but really excited to have him in the short term for sure. And a guy kind of in the same boat as Rosario, the Yankees went and acquired Austin Slater from the White Sox in exchange for Gage Zeal, the Yankees' number 18 prospect. Slater's just a very all-around good ball player. You know, the average won't pop out at you, but against lefties, he's hitting .254 with an OPS over .850. So another guy that we're adding to our platoon against left-handed relievers and left-handed pitching. As a pinch hitter coming off the bench in his career, Austin Slater is .289 hitter. So that's really, really good. He's got a little bit of power in that bat. He plays all 3 outfield spots and first base. Got a really good throwing arm, above average speed. Made his debut today. Went 0 for 4, but picked up an RBI. So, like I said, another guy that's super important to have down the stretch. A guy that knows his role and a solid guy to come off the bench and just make this roster so much deeper to the point where we got a guy for every little situation. Should injuries happen, God forbid, we got a guy for that. And that's what I think Cashman was trying to build, an all-around, very well-rounded roster. And I think Austin Slater definitely helps that out. But here come the big moves. Earlier this morning, first move of trade deadline day for the New York Yankees, we acquired David Bednar from the Pittsburgh Pirates, guy that we've been linked to for a long, long time. It's been long known that we've liked his stuff, and there's good reason to. 98-mile-an-hour fastball at times, devastating curveball, filthy, filthy splitter, one of the best closers in the game. I'm going to slot into the back end of the bullpen and just absolutely mow down hitters through 38 innings this year. He's got 51 strikeouts and a 2.37 ERA. Now, we did have to give up 2 of our top catching prospects, our number 8 overall prospect, Rafael Flores, and our number 14 overall prospect, Edglin Perez, as well as outfielder Brian Sanchez, in exchange for his services. But team control through 2026, he's a guy that could close, could be a setup man. We don't know exactly what Aaron Boone's going to do with it yet. I'll get into more of that later on in the video. but he's so good. I like watching his highlights. He's just disgusting. He's a veteran presence. He's been to several All-Star games. He's going to really help out this bullpen, which has struggled mightily as of late, and he adds much-needed swing and miss ability and much-needed velocity as well. We can't just rely on guys that rely on spin. You need premium velocity. That's the name of the game in 2025, and he adds that to this bullpen. Really smart move by Cashman, especially after he missed out on the likes of John Duran, Mason Miller, guys like that had already been dealt. Picking him up, next best thing. One of the best closers in the game, one of the best relievers in the game, period, and one of the best acquisitions, I think, of all teams on deadline day. And then just minutes after we acquired Bednar, came out that we're getting Jake Bird from the Colorado Rockies, who's under team control through 2028 and is a very, very good reliever. We had to send over a number 10 overall prospect, Rock Riggio, which kind of sucks. The dude is raking in Double-A. A really good second base prospect. Hope he gets to the big leagues in Colorado next year or even sooner. Was really excited for his future, but like I said, to get, you gotta giveth. And then we also had to send over a number 28 prospect, left-handed pitcher, Ben Shields. But Jake Bird, sidearm righty, sinker sweeper guy, will mix in the occasional curveball and cutter. ERA is a little bit elevated at 4.73. He had a little bit of a tough outing against the Guardians last time out. He didn't get an out and gave up 4 runs. But he's been very good for them so far this season, pitching in the toughest ballpark in Major League Baseball. His expected ERA is down at 3.89, and he's another guy with a really good strikeout rate. He's got 62 strikeouts and 53.1 innings pitched. So, really good swing and miss stuff. He's got a very good sinker, goes up to 96, and the sweeper, like I said, sinker sweeper guy, one of the nastiest pitches I've ever seen. From that sidearm arm slot, righties, there's just no chance. He can front door it. It will come in looking like it's about to hit you. Just dive right back in. They can obviously run it off the plate as well. He's also given the Rockies some length at times, going 2-3 innings. He won't necessarily be a high leverage guy, I don't think, with the way this bullpen has started to shape up. He won't be a 8th or 9th inning guy, but I think we could throw him in though 6th. Maybe pitch 1. Get 4 outs, 5 outs, and he could be absolutely great for us. I think Matt Blake will turn him into a weapon. He's great at developing spin and a guy who relies a lot on his breaking stuff. Jake Bird might be the perfect project for Matt Blake. I mean, he's probably frothing at the mouth getting this guy. Next up was our only main outgoing of the trade deadline. We sent Oswald Peraza. We shipped him over to the Los Angeles Angels in exchange for Dave Pena, an 18-year-old prospect, and some international signing pool bonus money. Mainly for the international money, I think. Peraza didn't have his best time in the big leagues this year. He's long been touted as a top prospect, but couldn't quite put it together offensively. He's got a great glove. Hopefully a change of scenery is good for him. I remember he actually hit a homer at Angel Stadium earlier in the year, so maybe we'll see more of that for him. Always conducted himself with class, so wish him the best over there. And maybe DePena turns out to be, one of the great players of all time. 18 years old, you never know. And obviously we're going to put that money to good use in the offseason. But again, just mere minutes after sending Oswald Peraza, we needed a backup shortstop. We went and we picked up Jose Caballero, who was playing in the game against the Yankees for the Rays. We picked him up in exchange for Everson Pereira and a player to be named later. Pereira, if you remember, he was part of that youth Yankees crop that came up in 2023 when we, were terrible, barely over 500. He came up with Dominguez and Wells in Houston. He had a couple homers, but he didn't quite put it together at the major league level. Then he had the Tommy John in 2024. Almost cracked the opening day roster as a DH in 2025 this season, but ultimately lost it out to Ben Rice. But he's a very good ball player. I have no doubt he's major league ready right now. Hopefully he gets a chance with Tampa Bay. They've got a little bit of a loaded outfield out there, but I hope he gets a chance with them. But yeah, Caballero is a perfect backup shortstop. Not much of a hitter, below 230, but leads the MLB in stolen bases. So when he does get on, and does have a good eye, so he walks a little bit as well, but when he does get on, he's a threat to steal. He's got great sprint speed and just incredibly intelligent base runner, which after the little bit of Wells mishap that happened on Wednesday, anything that's good for base running, I would just love to see with the Yankees. And he's also an above-average fielder, and he's a utility man. He can play all over the diamond. So good guy to have off the bench. Like I said, Cashman emphasizing this well-rounded roster construction. Caballero adds to that especially. And then just mere minutes before the end of the deadline, Brian Cashman pulls up from 3 at the buzzer beater, and it's an absolute three-pointer with the acquisition of Camilo Doval in exchange for Jesus Rodriguez, a catcher/third baseman currently in AAA, who was our 29th ranked prospect, our 19th ranked prospect, a right-handed pitcher Tristan Vierling, infielder Parks Harbour, and left-handed pitcher Carlos De La Rosa. So we sent over a pretty decent-sized package, but we get Camilo Doval, who's under team control through 2027, I believe, and then a guy who limits homers. He does have a problem walking guys, but the stuff, electric. You can't deny it. He's been one of the premier closers in the game for a long, long time now in San Francisco. Did have a little bit of a tough year last year, but he's bounced back this year. 3.09 ERA. Another guy with a really high strikeout rate. 50 strikeouts in 46.1 innings. He does have problems with the walks. He does walk 12.6% of batters, which is not great. But like I said, the stuff just jumps out at you. He won't be the closer for the Yankees, I don't think. He'll be a setup man. But devastating slider because of, guess what? Another premium velocity name. His cutter touches 100, 101 miles an hour on a regular basis, and then he also uses a sinker that sits around 96. So just devastating stuff to have. Adding more swing and miss, adding more velocity to the bullpen, that was one of our biggest needs heading in this trade deadline. And Brian Cashman was like, all right, hold my beer, let me do that. And he went out and got us 3 high-end relievers that are really, really going to help us out, especially when we get our guys back. This bullpen's going to be nasty, man. Overall grade and takeaway for Brian Cashman at this trade deadline, I'm giving Brian Cashman an A. He did pretty much everything we needed to do. Glaring hole at third base going into the deadline. Almost a week before the deadline hits, he goes and gets Ryan McMahon from the Rockies, who's been absolutely fantastic on both sides of the ball so far. He wanted more platoon options against lefties and to have a more well-rounded bench. 1 through 9, all the way to the bottom of the bench, Rosario and Slater. And 2 guys who can come in, mash lefties, and a good bench bats, give you good depth. Great moves there. And then the bullpen, long criticized for lack of swing and miss ability, lack of strikeouts, lack of premium velocity. He goes and gets 3 guys who are fit of being closers in Major League Baseball, adds them to the bullpen, all high strikeout, high velocity guys, really good breaking stuff. I mean, what else can you really ask for? The only reason he's not an A+ is because he didn't go and get a starting pitcher, which was one thing that we also needed, but with this bullpen, I don't think we need a starter. I mean, we're not going to give up any runs after our starter's out of the game. This team's electric. Like, I don't think there's a better bullpen in baseball. I know the Mets bolstered theirs with Helsley and Rogers. I know the Padres bolstered theirs. They were crazy on deadline day. But this team's up there. I think this team is the best. I've got listed here the full bullpen when everybody's back from injury as well. I don't think there's a better bullpen in the game than this. Call me crazy, but I don't think there is. I'm going to get into that into a second. But like I said, the only reason it's not an A+, we didn't go and we didn't get a Sandy Alcantara, a Mitch Keller, or Merrill Kelly. That would have really helped this team. But like I said, great job by Brian Cashman. He realized that, guess what? These teams wanted guys like Spencer Jones, George Lombard Jr., Cam Schlittler, guys that we didn't want to give up. Hold on to those blue chip prospects. When you're going to go and get a lockdown bullpen like this, hold on to your guys, see if they can develop, and don't just throw everything away like the Padres did, where every prospect in the Padres system is basically gone. Now, we held on to our top guys, and we also got a lot of really good guys in return. So I think Brian Cashman did an absolutely excellent job. I don't remember him ever being this aggressive in terms of quality and quantity of players at any deadline ever. So, legacy type of deadline for Brian Cashman. Full respect to him. He absolutely cooked. But like I mentioned, I do have the full bullpen I think we'll rock with, a full 8-man. Once everybody's healthy and back from injury, this is what I think we're going to do, and I want to run you guys through that real fast. At the closer, I've got Devin Williams. It seems like with his words in the post-game press conference that he's going to stick with Devin from here on out. He's been throwing the ball well lately. Obviously, he's had a couple of hiccups lately. 4 of his 6 appearances since the All-Star break, he surrendered a run, worst of them being Wednesday against the Rays. But he's been so good as of late. If you erase those couple of blips, and then obviously the start of the season where he was woeful, he's been really, really locked down. And then David Bednar, I've got him as the 8th inning guy. Boone spoke really highly of him in that aforementioned post-game press conference. I could easily see Bednar going in and being the closer with the way Boone kind of raved about him, about how he's wanted him for a long time. They've coveted him for a long time, and obviously 17 for 17 on save opportunities in Pittsburgh. You know, he does his thing. He's an all-star closer. But I do think he'll start out at least as the 8th inning guy. Camilo Doval I've got as the 7th inning guy. Stuff's absolutely electric. I think he's like a better version of Jonathan Loaisiga, where he's hard throwing, but he's a little bit more developed in the sense that he's got better control of his pitch. He still walks a lot of guys, but he doesn't leave as much stuff hanging out of the plate as Loaisiga does. And then we got Luke Weaver, a guy that can give you length and a guy who also has shown that he can be a closer. He was amazing at it last year. He's hiccuped quite a few times since his return from injury, but I love the Dream Weaver, man. I mean, he's just what a Yankee should be. He owns up to his mistakes, and he goes out there and he competes. He's an absolute dog. There's a reason they call him the Jungle Cat. He's an absolute animal. And then Jake Bird, another guy who can give you length and can also pitch in high leverage situations, can get you strikeouts just like Weaver. Really, really good acquisition. Obviously not going to be quite as high leverage as guys like Bednar, Williams, and Doval, but I think he could be a guy that can come in and give you one inning, 4 outs, 5 outs, and just mow down hitters. He's absolutely electric when he's on. And then Tim Hill, a resident lefty killer who just goes out there, pounds the strike zone. He's pitched in the most games out of any American League reliever this season. It feels like he's up every single day out there crushing lefties. But he's going to be in the bullpen for this season. He's an absolute dog. I mean, just conducts his business so well and just exudes confidence going out there and says, hey, if you beat me, fair play to you, but I'm going to trust my stuff. I'm going to be in and around the strike zone. Really funky delivery. I mean, really tough on lefties, and obviously we all know one of the best ground ball pitchers, if not the best ground ball pitcher in Major League Baseball. The defense has cost him at times. When the defense is right, the dude's damn near unhittable. And then I've got two guys that are currently injured. I've got Fernando Cruz and Mark Leiter Jr. Leiter Jr. obviously had his struggles right before he went on the IL, but I think most of that can be attributed to the fact that he was pitching with damn near a broken leg. That will affect you most of the time. And then Fernando Cruz, obviously one of the best strikeout relievers in the entire game. He's electric. That splitter is something truly special. He calls it a gift from God, and it is. It is a God-given pitch. So when those two come back, that would be our bullpen. Devin Williams, David Bednar, Camilo Doval, Jake Bird, Luke Weaver, Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz, and Mark Leiter Jr. That bullpen is absolutely disgusting. Name me a better bullpen in baseball than that. You'd be hard pressed to find one for sure. I mean, they're electric. Every single one of them can strike out guys, gets ground balls, and limits hard contact. So once we get to our bullpen, I think the game's looking pretty good if we can get to our bullpen with the lead from here on out. Now, that does leave some names out, the most notable of whom being Jonathan Loaisiga, but he has struggled mightily as of late. He struggled with the long ball. I know he's important to this team. He's been a great reliever at times when he's healthy, but the control just hasn't come around the way we'd like it to. He does have good strikeout stuff, and obviously his stuff is absolutely electric. It still plays. The velocity's still there. The movement's still there. But he's in and around the center of the zone too much. He gets punished with homers. He walks guys. He hits batters. And it's like every time he gets up in the bullpen, it's like, how is the dice going to roll today? And that level of inconsistency is deadly down the stretch when you're in the hunt for, a division title, hopefully World Series title. I don't think you can rely on that. But hopefully if he gets right, like I said, he could be a weapon. Brent Hedrick, who actually has thrown the ball really well since coming back up, threw the ball really well in this series against Tampa Bay. It looks like he kind of fixed his timing. He's more over the top. Fastball's got good carry, good extension down the mound. Just really, really good pitcher. But obviously he will likely be sent down tomorrow with these new bullpen arms coming in. JT Brubaker, who's done well at times. He had the one shaky outing, but other than that, his stuff has looked good. He pitches to the edges. Good to see him back in the big leagues after all the injuries he's had to endure. Giving the Yankees some length at times when we really needed it. So I just don't think that he's as good as these other guys. Hopefully there's a role for him somewhere. Ian Hamilton and Yerry De Los Santos are also two names. They've actually already been optioned following the game against the Rays on Thursday. And they've been optioned presumably to make room for some of the new bullpen arms we got as well. And then Ryan Yarbrough, who's currently injured, he could be a starter or a reliever, but he's also in that mix, especially with Tim Hill being the only lefty in the bullpen. With those 8 guys I mentioned, Ryan Yarbrough has always got a chance, and he pitched really well, especially in the rotation during the early parts of the Yankee season. And then on the note of the rotation, I wanted to talk through what would be my 5-man rotation going here on out through the rest of the Yankee season. Especially with the return of Luis Hill, one guy's got to make way. So there's 3 locks that are going to be in the rotation. Max Fried, having a great year. Carlos Rodon, having a great year. Luis Hill, reigning AL Rookie of the Year for a reason. His stuff is absolutely electric. I mean, that fastball is whoo. He's an absolute dog, king of the hill for a reason. And then you got 3 guys that could all be the 4 and 5 guys. You got Will Warren, Marcus Stroman, and Cam Schlittler. Even Ryan Yarbrough, like I said, could be in the midst of the rotation mix once he's back from injury. I think Will Warren sticks in the rotation for sure. He's had really good starts at times, had a really good start against Tampa Bay on Wednesday that ultimately got wasted by the offense, not getting him any run support. Obviously, we did go on to win the game, but he didn't get the win, which sucks for him. Stroman and Schlittler are interesting because Stroman, I feel like he's getting to that point in his career where when he's on and when he's got his good command, he can be very good. He's had some good starts since coming off the IL, but he's also been roughed up at times. Last 2 starts haven't been great for him. But he's also on a lot of money. So what do you do with him? Do you send him to the bullpen? But now there's not a spot for him in the bullpen. So it's a conundrum there. And then Schlittler, electric fastball, one of the best fastballs we've seen in the Yankee system in a long, long time. Not until the bullpen arms start pitching that we acquired at the deadline, he's the hardest thrower in the Yankee system. And his stuff plays at the major league level. He can pick up strikeouts, but he desperately needs a pitch that runs away from left-handed hitters. He needs if he had a gross changeup or even a league average changeup, he would be absolutely disgusting. And like I said, Yobo could be in and around that midst as well. But I would ride it out with Will Warren and Cam Schlittler once it's all said and done, once Luis Hill is back. But we'll see what happens there. I could see them going with Stroman and sending Schlittler down just to have him work on stuff, and also so we can keep Stroman in and around. And because we're paying him a metric shit ton of money for a guy who hasn't been very good so far, but I believe in Stroh. Hopefully he can put it together. And then my last note on the trade deadline is I want to say this. The Yankees had the best trade deadline in the American League East. No doubt about it. The Orioles were sellers. They lost O'Hearn, Laureano, so Anthony Dominguez. They're not even in the conversation for best deadline. They did get some decent returns there to rebuild. The Red Sox, one of the worst trade deadlines in all of baseball. They basically didn't do anything. They got Trevor May and Steven Matz. Trevor May's not bad. I mean, we were considered the front runner for him at one point. And then Steven Matz is a pretty solid little pitcher. I actually like him. They almost got Joe Ryan. We got faxed by Fox, which is weird. But if they would have got him, their deadline gets way better. And the Blue Jays had the best of the rest in terms of deadline day moves. They got Shane Bieber, who's very, very good. I like him a lot. Ty France and Louis Varland in the package. Solid little players. That helps him out. The catching prospect from the Padres, I've heard very good things about, so I think he could be a good player. And then obviously, so Anthony Dominguez obviously switched mid-game between the Blue Jays and Orioles, and he helps out. He helps shore out their bullpen along with Louis Varland. They're very good, but nowhere near the level of trade deadline the Yankees had in terms of acquiring bullpen and also helping out your lineup a lot. I think the Yankees just in every way imaginable had a better trade deadline. Especially considering you never know what Shane Bieber is going to give you coming off that injury. He is in Double-A right now. He was up to 59 pitches, I think, in his last start while he was in the Cleveland system. But if he gets right, that's a very good move for the Blue Jays. But we're hot on your ass, Toronto. You better watch out. The Yankees are coming. But enough about the trade deadline. All right. I mean, we all need to mentally just recover from that madness. So we're going to talk a little bit about what happened on the field yesterday and throughout the 4-game set at the stadium against the Rays. My biggest takeaways from this is that the offense without Judge was very good. Judge, obviously such a central figure in this offense, best hitter in baseball, arguably the best right-handed hitter of all time, but we took him out. We're missing him until 10 days. He is expected to be back August 5th against the Marlins. I mean, in the opener against the Rangers, not the Marlins. My apologies. But also Monday, the offense wasn't great. You just got shut down by a pretty good pitcher, and their bullpen pitched well, so you give that to him. But you bounce back. Tuesday, convincing win. Wednesday, wild roller coaster game. I mean, shit hit the fan so many times, we still managed to pull that one out. So just happy we won that. And then today, another convincing win. Putting up a 7 spot on Ryan Pepio, who is a very, very good pitcher. So good series, 3 out of 4 against an AL East rival. Basically forced the Rays to be sellers, even though they're not too far out of a wild card spot. We took 3 out of 4 from them, and now we're only 3.5 games back of the Toronto Blue Jays. Like I said, we're hot on their ass, baby. We're in the hunt. The Yankees are coming. And with the schedule we have ahead of us, not being too tough, I think the Yankees will win this division. I really, really do. But to round off the video, I just want to preview the road trip we got coming up. We got a 3-game set in Miami, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, first pitch at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Carlos Rodon versus Junk for the Marlins. You'd fancy Rodon's chances there, 11-7 with 3.18 ERA, but Junk has been very good for the Marlins, 5-2 with a 3.28 ERA. Saturday, August 2nd at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Time. We got a little bit of a day game going. We got Schlittler versus Perez. Schlittler 1-1 with a 4.91 ERA, and then Perez 3-3 with a 3.07 ERA. Very good young pitcher in Yuri Perez over there. And then Sunday the 3rd at 1:40 p.m. Eastern Time, we got Luis Hill making his season debut. Looked very good in his rehab starts, especially that last one. Looked really sharp. Strikeout numbers were way, way up there. I believe it was 7 in 4 innings. I think it was 7 in 4 innings, yeah. So hopefully you can get 5 innings out of Luis Hill. That would be ideal. Up against Edward Cabrera, someone the Yankees were actually linked with on deadline day, 4-5 with 3.35 ERA. So Marlins, three of their best starters they're rolling out there. They've got a good offense. They're, I think, tied with the Yankees in terms of batting average. They've been hot lately. They're hunting something in the National League. That's why they weren't sellers, is they've actually managed to be one of the better teams in baseball over the past month and a half. And then following that, we got 3 in Arlington, Monday through Wednesday, then an off day next Thursday. And then back at the stadium for 3 games against the Houston Astros, the dirty Astros, who got Correa back. So, yeah, going to be a crazy couple of weeks for the Yankees, but not as crazy as deadline day was. I mean, we covered so much ground here, but overall takeaways, best deadline in the AL East. Phenomenal work by Brian Cashman and great series win against the Rays. Things are coming up Millhouse for the Yankees, baby. It's all looking good. We're on our way to being back to the top of the division, hopefully, and we're on our way to, rallying together some wins and being one of the best teams in baseball. And at the end of the day, hopefully winning the World Series. That's what we're all here for. That's what our goal is every year. And Brian Cashman made that abundantly clear by going out there and being aggressive at the deadline and maintaining our top prospects. So we got a future and we got a chance this year. Things are looking good, baby. Couldn't ask for much more. But as always, thank you guys for watching the Bronx Buzz podcast. If you appreciate it, do subscribe, follow the socials, everything like that. I love each and every one of you guys that watch these videos, so I really do appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you again soon. And as always, go Yankees.